busy, and you know when you're like eventually, I don't know, I got stuck with something. When was it? Which day are we? Friday, Saturday. I think on Thursday. Sorry, I'm like on Thursday, and I was like, okay, I know that, you know, I feel stuck, and I'm sure it's so stupid, it's so right in my face, but I felt so like I can't see anything. And you know, the thing didn't flow. So I was like, well, it makes no sense. That should, and I had been working on that for like a few weeks now. And I had everything planned out. I was like, why all of a sudden it doesn't work? It makes no sense. But really, like, I was like, oh my God, my deadline of Monday, I was like, that never gonna happen. Like, I was like, really like, all of a sudden it was like, it looks so much bigger. And I was like, it's weird because it was so fine. And I was like, look, I know it's there, I just can't see it. And we're like talking about it. I was like, I can't see it. And the day after, like, I woke up, I said, I don't know what to Yanni, and it was kind of half asleep still. And in here, I was like, oh my God, all I have to do is that. And that's fine. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. But it's so cool when you're like, it felt very much like, I know it's there, but I just can't see it. But it was cool to feel it was there, you know, what I mean? So yeah. Hey.
That's awesome. So is your deadline this Monday or last Monday?
This Monday coming, yeah.
Okay.
So I knew I'll have a busy weekend even, but yeah. Anyway,
awesome.
It's all good. Yeah.
Creative potential is always there, isn't it? We just get in the way, or it's there when we aren't in the way, I suppose. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just, it's reassuring. Okay, it's just not nice when you are in this, oh my God, why not? And but it's so much easier when you know eventually it'll come. You're just hoping that it comes on time, but it's just like, it's really cool because I could really see, I was like, something's not right. It is, and yeah, it's really, really cool. Sorry, I'm not saying any words there, but you feel it, it's there.
Great feeling.
How was your week?
Yeah, okay. All right. It's I had I don't know, yesterday, or what did they say? The wind got knocked out my sails a bit with we're in like Neath, and Bridgene's been in lockdown, and Swansea's now in lockdown. So we're in the middle of these two lockdown areas. Obviously we're going to go in as well, but it kind of, what does that mean for work and for gym and for my life that I've now gotten quite, you know, okay with and whatever. It's like, it's just so silly, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's like I heard a metaphor this week. It's like playing chess on a trampoline. You know, you get everything lined up, and then poof, something comes and bounces in, and it all gets ruined. It's just not fun.
It means that then when quiet is done, you can put the pieces wherever you like.
Yeah, I know. So it's
And so you're still in that.
No, I'm okay today again. It's you know, it'll be what it'll be, and it'll just you know, it's just frustrating, isn't it? It's like you know, work's picking up, and it'll be fine. It was fine before, it'll be fine now. It's just, you know what I mean? I think it's just all in limbo, and they won't close the schools, so that's the main thing. As long as the kids can still go to school, it's okay. But they're a bit like, you know, well, we can see everybody at school, we can see everybody at dance club, but why can't we go to people's houses? Like, I honestly don't know how to explain this to you. Excuse me.
Not me.
You.
Hello.
Do you have kids, Bram? That's why, because I like, we were both looking at Bram with the same look. like, oh, that's so sweet. And at the same time, I'm so good with my space.
What was that?
No, like, I was just asking Frank if he had kids, because we're both looking at you the same way with your kid. Anyway, that's it.
Get out! Get out! How's your week been, Frank? What happened to your phone?
So I haven't been doing very well this week. I'm still really doing very well. Yeah, so I had I had a really good week last week, and this week seems to have been trying to balance things out a bit, I think. Yeah, so couple of sort of significant things for me were, one, I managed to damage the boat in an accident. So, I mean, it could have been worse, you know, I've done the standard reframing stuff, but yeah, I kind of lost, I was out on the boat in the harbour in Cowes, and I lost, I was trying to get ready to moor it along the pontoon and everything, and there's lots to do and lots going on, and I didn't realise, but the boat was drifting, although I didn't have the power on. You know, this is one of the differences between a car and a boat. When you don't have the engine on in a car, it stays where it is, but a boat moves if there's wind and tide and current and things. So, which I know, of course, but I had lost track that we weren't exactly where I thought I was. And yeah, so my boat smashed into a navigation pole and did some damage to my boat. Navigation pole's all right. And then the next day I was trying to take some pictures of the damage, and I was hanging over the side of the boat to try and get close enough to get a good picture, and the rail came undone and I fell forward, managed to stop myself going in the water, but managed to drop my phone in the water, never to be seen again. So then I'd lost my phone, and I'd also kind of lost contact because I've only got mobile phone, no landline or anything, so I couldn't do very much. So it's been a great week, really.
Oh, I love you. That's horrid. Oh, is your boat like going to be okay? Can you fix it?
Well, I certainly can't. I'm sort of in the early stages of discussions with the insurance company. So hopefully, yes, but possibly no. But probably yes. Where's Claire? She looks like she's in a race or something. She's very eager.
I've just had my hair cut for the first time in almost 8 months, which is very exciting. I'm on the way back to my car.
It looks very nice.
Thank you. I'm just going to mute myself whilst I do this.
Okay.
Oh, and you haven't got your new phone yet, then, Frank, either?
Well, I've reinstated an old phone, but I had to get a new SIM. But it came through late yesterday, so I've got a phone again. So you know, the world is slowly returning to normal. Yeah. So, but I'm not dealing with it too well.
Why not? What? Because if you have your phone back and you're gonna be able to fix it, why is it? I don't know. I'm just curious why it feels so. What is it in that makes you feel?
I don't really know. I mean, in a way, I don't really assign the way I'm feeling to the circumstances. I think, you know, I know that's not how it works anyway. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think where I am at the moment is just trying not to think my way out of it, because that's what I usually do. And yeah, I've been doing a lot of that lately. So at the moment, I'm just going to stay with where I am and see what I notice.
Mm. Was anybody on the boat with you?
Yeah. There was a new friend with me.
Cool.
Yeah, I was talking to my sister last night, and she said, well, at least you had someone with you. And I said, well, yeah, but if I hadn't have had someone with me, I probably wouldn't have been there. But I know what she meant.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you didn't fall in the water when the railing went. Oh God,
Yeah,
that could have been
topped it up, really. That thought, you know, the thought of bad luck comes in threes. That keeps floating into my head. But I know it's nonsense, really.
It's an interesting one though, that, isn't it? It's such an ingrained, like, I don't know, in my life, it's always been a thing. Like, we look for it, you know, and it always happens in my experience or my family's experience. It's crazy. I wonder about that sometimes. Like, it's probably that whole, like, when you're on the look for it, you make more meaning to something that wouldn't necessarily have been a thing when it happens, isn't it?
I mean, if you think about it, all you've got to do is, once you've decided there've been two things, you just keep looking for another bad piece of luck. And, you know, anything that doesn't quite go your way, you're just going to say, oh, there it is. Yeah. And then you stand down and say, oh, I've had my three now, I'm all right.
Yeah.
If it was four, we would find four.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's not like it's going to stop at three, because you'll have other pieces of misfortune in the future, won't you? So it's like, why did we decide it was three?
Yeah, that's funny. And you, Claire, how are you this week with your lovely hair? Fabulous.
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. I found myself wondering a lot about this thing of just letting life happen, and just sort of, I don't know, like, I'm tempted to say sort of how that happens, or how you let it happen, but I know that's the wrong direction to look in. But I found myself wondering about that quite a bit recently, in terms of, you know, how sometimes you feel like you have to make a decision, like you have to sort of, I suppose it's a difference between, well, it's around this thing of doing nothing, because it isn't really about doing nothing, is it? It's about doing stuff when the feeling's right, rather than not doing anything. So yeah, that's what I've been wondering about this week anyway.
Have you come up with anything?
No. I think this doing nothing is a misunderstanding, because it's I mean, I think it's about that the nothing bit is about not trying to fix your state. It's not about not engaging with life. I don't think anywhere the three principles says don't engage with life. I think it's stop, in a sense, it's stop trying to overthink everything, isn't it? I mean, that's another way of looking at it. It's like, how much time are you spending out there in life, and how much time are you spending in your head, kind of trying to organize your life and decide everything. And that's the bit that I think it's about not doing anything. It's like, in a sense, the principles doesn't say do this instead of that. It just says this is how it works. And if you can see that in action, then you'll relate to it differently. You'll have a different experience, because you won't see it as something you've got to fix. You'll just see it as something that's going on.
Yeah, and actually, as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, you know what? By the very fact of thinking about that, I wasn't in it, if you know what I mean, because I was taking that step back, trying to fix things and trying to think about how to be in life. Therefore, you're not in life because you're thinking about it, like you just said. Yeah. Again, I suppose it's another symptom, isn't it? It's another symptom of getting in your head about stuff.
That I read something. Was it this morning or last night? Anyway, it just said, is what you're saying, Claire, makes me think of that. It's like, what if we try to think as much about the present as we do about the future? That's cool, right? Love it. Because it's that, we spend like so much time, yeah.
That sounds like a trying to do.
No, but like it's okay. Sorry, Frank. It's more different.
Isn't that exactly saying that doesn't make sense? That we
No. To me, like what I hear from that is that's it. Instead of trying to think what things should be like or what we've done and being in your head, is that just like if we were just focusing our attention on now.
I think it's be in the present, not think about the present.
Yeah, it's more like it was more to make the end. Anyway, okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
It makes sense to me.
Don't take any notice of what I'm saying this morning, because I'm not in contact with mind at the moment.
It's fine.
Which is a weird thing to say, because we always are. It's always there, remember? I don't know. I agree with what you said, Claire. Like, I resonate with that. I've been a lot like, how do you just be in life? You know, let life happen. Life happens, but it's like, oh, yeah. I still get these glitches, like, oh, which it's human. I know, human nature, isn't it? Up and down, and it's like, oh, yeah, life is. I can let life just happen, but like somewhere along the line, I've got to get a little bit proactive with it and productive and do something. Actually act on something at some stage. Can't just sort of, that's how I get in my head about it as well. But ultimately, you know, it's happened, it has happened the last 40 odd years, 41, without me, you know, even if I've thought it or not, it's still just gone the way it's gone. I don't know, it's funny. And yet I know that in sometimes in my life, something's been so clear that that's the next thing to do. that it's just happened and unfolded. And maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's like, okay, well, what happened in those instances where it was just so clear, like there wasn't actually even another question about it. That's what I was going to do next. But yet right now I haven't had that clarity around something, so that's okay. Maybe that's just, like you said, it's the feeling or whatever. Like the 2 instances was coming over to the UK and then going to Afghanistan. Like I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. There's nothing else that I'm, it wasn't even a question of it. And that's led me on to the rest of my life. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I suppose knowing that that happens at some stage, it's that clear that it isn't a question. That's what we're waiting for. I don't know.
But isn't it also true? I mean, those are big things. When you look back, you can say, oh, those were significant points in my life. But I suppose the way I would say is when I'm in, when I'm in the flow, when I am finding life easy and with grace, that's the same thing. I don't really struggle with what to do next because it's obvious what to do next.
Yeah. No, you're right. So, and even this morning.
You have that.
Yeah.
We all have that some of the time, and I'm caught up and trying to overthink things some of the time, especially when we kind of think we should be some way other than where we are.
And even in that, there's still those like, okay, well, this morning I'm getting up, I'm going to clean the child's bedroom because it's a state and it needs to be done. And then I'm going to come on the call and we do this, like, so even in that, there's always that next, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go get my hair cut, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to work. There is no thinking around that. So it is, I suppose that's what it kind of points to, isn't it? It's like we do go through it because there is at some level, there's like, okay, well, this is the next thing to do. And it doesn't have to be big. But I think I get caught up in like, okay, well, what's the big thing? Not noticing that every day there's little steps that are going, that are life happening. And yeah, it's an interesting thing to get curious about, I think.
I'm listening to some Bill Pettit at the moment, and he says a lot of really entertaining things, but also moving things. But I think one of the things that he says over and over is be gentle with yourself. He's talking to people, who, on the basis that this is an understanding that we can all benefit from. But he says over and over again, this is, be gentle with yourself. This is an incremental understanding. What was it? I can leave that bit. But I guess what I'm reminded of is also the way that Elsie talked to us about all of this, because Elsie was a big one for kind of celebrating what worked, what we'd noticed that was kind of helping, the moments when we were in flow, or the moments when we did feel connected, and the moments, the kind of wisdom or the knowing of what to do next kind of showed up. Because what a lot of people were saying, I remember, on those calls were, and I've heard it before, is, I had this really good thing that happened, but then I went downhill, or I couldn't retain it, or I couldn't keep with it, or, and she would just say, basically, kind of celebrate the bits that are working for you, because the more you put attention on that, the more of that you will get, the more you'll notice, the more you appreciate your wisdom, the more you will hear your wisdom and all that sort of thing. And we all know that's true. You know, the classic, I'm going to buy a red car, and we start seeing red cars everywhere. I mean, we're built that way. Once we've kind of focused on something, we get to notice more of that in our life. And the trouble that I think we get into is that if we've kind of habitually been somebody who focuses on what isn't going well, or what we haven't learned yet, or how this doesn't seem to apply in all circumstances, then we will just kind of find evidence for our own kind of lack in some way, you know, that we haven't learned as much as we could have done, should have done by now, or whatever, instead of noticing what is going well and appreciating that, and therefore tuning ourselves into having more of that. But being, you know, as Bill says, being patient. And Elsie was a big one for that. And I mean, I was listening to something, I mean, Elsie was around Sid Banks for 18 months before she could begin to be comfortable with hearing what he was talking about. So, you know, I mean, this is the guy that had the Enlightenment experience and taught, who shared it from a very, very deep place. And she was one of his best friends. So if she can take her time, I guess we can be gentle with ourselves.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, Frank, that it is incremental. I think I forget that often. And also that I've been noticing recently just how much dissatisfaction, how often I fall into dissatisfied thinking about stuff. And it's one of those areas that is, it's becoming increasingly clear, I suppose, that is where I tend to go quite often. But as with anything else, until you see it, you don't know that, do you?
There was a guy I did a course with, and he was supposedly a Hawaiian shaman. He didn't live here, he was visiting. Serge Kahili King. And he had these little booklets that he used to give out for free. And they had these sort of words of wisdom in there. And I can't remember exactly the wording, but the sentiment was, the secret of life is paying attention to what you want more of in your life and appreciating it. And that's it, really. And what he talked about, to expand on that, is simply that, you know, if we're kind of habitually looking towards what we don't want, then that will take us down, basically. Either in terms of just worrying about it, or I guess in terms of emphasizing that part of our life. Whereas if we notice and put more attention on the things we do want, be that love, you know, and understanding and connection and time with nature and all those things, if we notice and appreciate those more, we will take less for granted. We will have a greater appreciation for those things. And inevitably more of that will show up in our lives. Because in a way, we're we're kind of adjusting where our attention goes. And I think it's another way of describing what we're doing with all of this. If we habitually focus on what isn't going so well, or a judgment about what's going on, then we'll spend more time in that space and feeling. We'll see the world look more like that. And if we appreciate more of what we value in life, we'll get to enjoy it more at least, and probably have more of it come into our lives.
So how do you figure out what is it that, because, you know, there is this thing between what you think you want, you know, sometimes you think, oh, that's really important, I really want that, but actually it's not necessarily, it's just, you've learned that that's what was important. Like there was these studies where they studied like men for 75 years from like around, the like 30s, 40s, all the way. And they asked them at the beginning of the studies, what is it that really they wanted and they think they would be happy with? And they like 80% was like, oh, if I had money and if I'm famous, and when they spoke with them again, when they were like 80 years old, they realized that actually none of that mattered, because they really studied their lives and when they were good, when they were happy, and And so that's why I feel sometimes we're like, we kind of, you know, you're not really clear on what is it really you want. The examples you gave, I think, like, yeah, if you focus on love and, you know, people and all that, that can do you good. But what if you have all these other...
See, it's what, sorry, Sandrine, like what I heard and what Frank said, and it was an insight for me, because I have heard people say this in a way, you know, but what I heard was it's not focusing on what you want, it's focusing what is already there, what is already good. That's kind of what I heard. Because otherwise it's wishful thinking, isn't it? We're still getting into the thinking part of it, that we're like, and we can't trick ourselves. It's like trying to tickle yourself, isn't it? You know it's you doing it to yourself. So if you're trying to say, oh, I want, you know, yes, you know, I'm focusing on like being thin and rich and whatever. It's like wishful thinking, but we kind of know that. So it's still thinking, isn't it? It's still coming from a, like, well, life isn't good enough as it is. I still want this. But if we're focusing on, okay, well, like those moments where we do experience peace or love or goodness or whatever, the better things, and we focus more on those occasions, then it's like being depressed. I mean, I was depressed for a long time, and all I can remember of those years is that depression. But I know in that depression there were ups. I know there were, but I didn't focus on them. That makes sense? But if I had noticed those, okay, well, actually, for 2 hours out of the day, actually, I wasn't thinking about how sad I was. That's amazing. How come that happened? Maybe if I'd looked more to that, my overall experience would have been not of depression. And like now, I mean, even going like really down to a basic level, I'm now being really, really good with good in like, you know, whatever, a labeled way, with my eating and my exercise. I'm feeling really, really good. But there's been a couple of periods where I've lost it. I've gone back to habitual habits. And previously that would have been what I focused on. And it would have grown and grown and grown. Oh, well, I've cheated now. I may as well do this. I may as well do that. Whereas now I'm actually focusing, okay, well, wow, look what you've done for the last 24 hours or 2 days or whatever. Like, it's okay that happened. Let's just, like, you know, you can do it. This is what it feels like. This is how it works. It's a very, very different overall experience of exactly the same thing that I've struggled my whole life with.
That's really cool.
I don't know, that's what I heard in that, what Frank said, which was, you know, like I said, pretty big, because I've also been like, oh, this gratitude thing, are you being grateful for things? And it's like, but actually it's that feeling, and that is there at some time, isn't it?
We heard you. No.
And then I suppose in that space of noticing the things that we want more of, that we've already got, in that maybe comes ideas for, you know, fresh thinking and fresh ideas and fresh opportunities for expanding on it. I don't know. That's how I see it, I think. Until, you know, and then yes, and I definitely notice now that, like, you know, yes, I'm kind of caught up, frustrated, can't remember the word you used, Claire, but like frustrated or discontented or whatever, feelings and thinkings, like it comes up a lot, but I don't stay there as long as I used to. You know, ruminating, okay, well, this is a problem, how am I going to get out of it? You know, it's still there, it doesn't ever go away. Well, I'm going to say it doesn't ever go away. I don't pay any attention to it, but it'll come back because it hasn't been solved as such. I'm still waiting, like you said, Sandrine, at the beginning. Claire, I think you missed it. She said, like, you know, was looking for a solution to something, you know, and she knew it was there, but couldn't think her way through it. But it came after a night's sleep, you know, just as a brief summary, Sandrine. But like, that's the thing. So my problem is still there, but it doesn't help me to ruminate on it because I can't get out of it. So I kind of just, so I can let it go a little bit more. I can put it down a bit more than I used to be able to, and then it'll come back normally at 3:30 in the morning, without fail. But you know, it's like, okay, I still can't think my way out of this. Still doesn't make sense. Okay, you know, so I'm not picking it up in the morning like I used to, maybe so much.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, and it's just struck me as well that, you know, Linda Pransky quite often says to people, do more of that. And I've always found that quite confusing, but actually I feel like that's just become clear with what you and Frank just said there, because actually, yeah, it is about noticing what's going right, and therefore it's not really doing more of that, but by being aware of it, you're sort of inviting more of it, I suppose. Yeah, I've always in the past found that a bit of a confusing phrase.
I think it's interesting because some people talk about this as an understanding, and it's not something you do, it's an understanding. But another way that's just occurred to me of appreciating that is that when you understand something, what to do is obvious. When you misunderstand something, you won't know what to do, or you'll do something that's not helpful. So in a way, Claire, you know, what you just said is, I can see something that makes more sense to do, as in, I'll do more of that. And when I notice myself doing the other thing, oh no, that's not as useful to do. And therefore, as a result, there will kind of be more time spent doing something that works and less time spent trying to figure your way out the maze. There's so many different ways of talking about this. It's all the same thing, but they're just different ways of thinking at it.
And always remembering that what we're experiencing is never wrong anyway, whatever it is, isn't it? But it is fun exploring what's going on. Yeah, it's life-changing, I feel, definitely, you know? Even though it's so subtle sometimes, so subtle, and I forget it so often. I'm going to have to go, but you guys can stay on if you want.
Okay.
Like, do Sunday mornings work for anybody?
Well, you asked that question, no one answered you.
No, I know.
What did you say?
I have to work on Sundays, so they don't work for me. But that's,
okay.
You know, if it's better for everyone else, then obviously that's cool.
This works. It's just I've got to go at 1:45. I've got to take my daughter somewhere. Like I say, I'll nip off. Frankie will have to edit out this little middle bit.
Good to see you, Brian.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, lovelies. Thank you for coming. Let me just make somebody else a host quick. Okay. Bye.
Bye. See you soon.
Mm-hmm. So, Sandrine, you're quieter this week.
I am what?
You're quieter. You've said less.
I am what? Sorry?
You've said less, not so much talking as you have been doing recently.
It depends. It depends. I notice, yeah, there's some days you just feel like talking and some days you don't, and it's okay. I feel, yeah. And that's what's good here is if you just want to be there, you can be there. You don't have to, okay, I have to do like my 20 minutes of talking, or it's fine. So I just...
I think as well, it's one of the nice things about having a regular conversation because you get to see, don't you, how week to week different people are caught up in different things, and then another time they'll be free, and then the next time they're caught up in something else, and then maybe the same for a while, and then they're free again. And it just sort of makes it quite clear, doesn't it, when you regularly having these conversations?
Yeah.
It's true. Because sometimes when you catch up with people, you just get the, oh, everything's fine. But actually, it's true. In between, there is all this up and down. So it's nice to, it is weird, but yeah, it's nice to hear that we all go down sometimes and up, and yeah.
Since there's a lull, so we're in the process of organising a second companion, One Thought online companion course. So One Thought have got this online course about this understanding, which mostly Aaron and Leela have put together, which is sort of, the idea is you do it over 9 lessons, and there are videos of them talking about the understanding, and they progressively kind of take people through it. And we ran this for a small group shortly after we'd finished the foundation program, and we're going to run it again, slightly differently, but essentially the same. So we'll get a group of people together, and then the idea is that each week people watch the lesson for that week, which is one main video with some others that they can also look at. And then we'll get together and have a kind of conversation about it. And what we did the first time around, there were some people that were kind of at the very beginning of making sense of all of this, and then there were other people that had also, there were some alumni that were on the course as well with us. And so we had lots of different people kind of hearing what was pertinent for them at each stage, and you know, we get to see each person's kind of journey during those 9 weeks. So we're going to run that again, and I'm saying it here partly because I don't know whether either of you are interested in coming, but also because there might be people who ultimately watch this who will also possibly be interested in coming. So it's a little bit of an advertisement. So we're going to run that this time on a Monday evening at 8 for an hour. And we're starting on the 12th, which I think it must be the second Monday in October. And we're going to run it through to early December. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really nice. How, when the first one, how did that feel for you?
It was, well, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a small group, and that's our intention, to keep the group small. And I think what's quite helpful, so you kind of, the idea is that you would watch some of the videos and reflect on it and kind of notice, you know, how life looks differently to you as a result of what you heard. And then we kind of share that. And it's interesting how different people get different things from it, all in the same general direction, but you know, just the way it works is that we're all starting from different places. So there's always something unique to us to hear. So yeah, I think it's because it's got a kind of format to it, in the sense that, you know, there is that progression and there's a mix of people. I really enjoyed it, and everybody that came also enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, I'd recommend it.
That's good. So it'll be like you, Brown. Did you do it with Hyatt last time?
We have a sort of small team of hosts. So it's definitely me, Baron, and Shazia this time. And I think, subject to confirmation, we'll probably have Harriet. So the idea is we take it in turns to be the host, but other people, the hosts that aren't the host for that week, also come as well. But,
Okay.
it's like one person kind of leads the call each time. So yeah, it's a good place to listen, but it's also a good place to kind of, because I think those of us here, sometimes it's talking about something that actually helps you see it more clearly. You have a question, or you might just have a share, and in the process of that share, you kind of hear yourself say something that you hadn't realized you kind of understood, or you hadn't thought about it that way before. So I think it's a nice place to find a voice as well.